It's just days before Christmas. The air is cold, the roads are empty, and a 21-year-old college student is driving home for the holidays. He has his backpack, his betta fish, plans to see old friends, and spend the break playing video games before family celebrations begin. But sometime after midnight, on a pitch-black gravel road in rural Texas, Jason Landry vanishes. Only his car is found, crashed. The engine is still running, the headlights are on, his phone and wallet are inside. Nearly 900 feet down the road, his clothes are lying in the dirt.
Backpack here, shirt and watch right there, shoes, and right up there is where his shorts and underwear are.
House just south of there.
67 minutes after he reached his last known location, Jason was gone, and he is never seen again.
It's a hard, bright light.
This call is the first official record of the moment Jason Landry disappears.
Howell County Sheriff's Office.
Hey, it's Cameron with Southeast Fire. How are you tonight?
Hello, how may I help you?
Yes, ma'am. I can let you know it's Cameron with Southeast. I just come off of 1322 on the Salt Flat Road, and I'm about, I'm going to say 5 or 6 miles off of the highway, and I just come up on a vehicle that's in a ditch, and it appears that it's going to be he hit a fence. There's clothing and shoes all in the roadway.
A car in a ditch, no driver, and clothing scattered nearly 1,000 feet away. The call comes in at 12:31 a.m. Investigators believe the crash happened nearly an hour earlier.
It appears that he grabbed a backpack or something out of his car, and he's thrown it in the middle of the road along with a cup that smelled like alcohol.
No one has seen Jason. No one knows where he is, and already an assumption has been made.
Alrighty, yeah, because he took out some fence, and his back windshield's not completely out, and it's got severe front and rear damage to it.
The car is damaged, the driver is missing, and the scene is growing stranger by the minute.
He's stripped out of his clothes wherever he's at, and there's some blood on his clothes.
Stripped, injured, alone, somewhere in the cold, dark.
I don't know where he's at. I've been up and down trying to find him, but I haven't located him yet. Other than that abandoned house that's on here, and I wasn't going to go up there. I figured that'd be a law enforcement issue.
No coordinated search, no urgency, no clear sense of danger. By 12:38 a.m., a state trooper is on the scene. By this point, Jason Landry has already been missing for over an hour.
Let me get out there.
That's my thought, is he's got to be intoxicated to get out of his clothing.
Well,
When it's 40-something degrees.
yeah. Do y'all have any heat vision, like...
No, sir.
Okay. All right. It's pretty cold.
Somewhere along this dirt road, a 21-year-old college student is believed to be naked, injured, and wandering in near-freezing temperatures. And somehow, this still isn't treated as an emergency.
There be light in the rooms I lock, light in the shame I never talk, light in the fears I try to hide, light in the places I almost died.
Before Jason Landry ended up on Salt Flat Road, he was at home, packing, He had just finished finals, just wrapped up a shift at work, and sometime around 10:55 p.m., he locked the door behind him. This was the last time anyone saw Jason Landry alive, but to understand what led him out into that cold night, we have to rewind just a little bit further. That semester had been different. Jason was a people person, the kind of guy who made friends in line at gas stations. But COVID-era campus life was silent. Remote classes, empty buildings, long stretches of time alone in a small apartment. And isolation didn't just bore Jason, it changed him. Friends noticed a shift. He started talking more about spirituality, enlightenment, perception, opening the third eye. He shared ideas about psychedelics and consciousness. To some, it sounded scattered. To others, curious, abstract, exploratory. But here's what everyone agrees on. That weekend, when they spoke to Jason, he still sounded like himself. Animated, talkative, looking forward to coming home. His mother Lisa remembered it clearly. On Saturday, he sounded just like Jason to me, she said. He was very excited about the next semester, talking, and never quite getting to the point. On Sunday night, Jason FaceTimed a friend in Missouri City. The call lasted about 45 minutes. The friend screen recorded it, saying Jason seemed very high and he thought it would be funny to show him later. Because he wasn't sure Jason would remember what they'd talked about. Sadly, the friend didn't realize that the audio wasn't recording, so we only have the video and no context. Just Jason on camera in his apartment. He's awake, smiling, rolling joints, talking with his hands. He looks very relaxed and comfortable. If you didn't know what was coming next, there'd be nothing unusual about it. Some later fixated on sweat beneath his arms, maybe anxiety. Others said it looked like nothing, just a guy getting ready to go home. Law enforcement even tried lip-reading analysis. It led nowhere. No one knows what Jason said in those 45 minutes. What makes the video haunting isn't what it shows. It's what it withholds. After the call, Jason made a decision. He was going home. He packed like he meant to get there. Toiletries, his laptop, a PlayStation, marijuana, several rolled blunts in a pill container, and Sparky, his betta fish. Jason placed the fish into a plastic tumbler. Friends say Sparky always came with him, everywhere. That same day, a cold front had moved through central Texas. Temperatures were dropping. By nightfall, it was near freezing. But Jason walked out in a t-shirt, shorts, and sandals. Bright yellow SpongeBob socks. It wasn't just inappropriate, it was dangerous. At 10:55 p.m., Jason picked up his keys. He gathered his things, and he locked the door behind him. He got into his car, started the engine, and began the drive home. He never made it.
You said stay where it's safe, safe felt like sinking slow. Prayers on a folded napkin, never left that table. Now I draw.
By 10:55 p.m., Jason Landry leaves his apartment in San Marcos. He loads his belongings into his tan Nissan Altima. He opens Waze. He enters a familiar destination, Missouri City, a drive he'd made before, a route he knew. Within minutes, he's on the road. Just after 11:05 p.m., Jason's phone passes under the I-35 overpass. A few minutes later, he crosses into Caldwell County. Continuing southeast on Highway 80, through Fentress, Prairie Leah, Stairtown. His phone remains active. He uses Snapchat. He stays responsive. Nothing about this drive appears frantic. Nothing suggests distress. That night, Central Texas is unusually dark. The sky is moonless, the roads are unlit. A cold front has pushed temperatures toward freezing. Above him, the Geminid meteor shower streaks across the sky. Some later would describe it as looking like the heavens were raining. Whether Jason noticed it, we don't know. At approximately 11:24 p.m., Jason enters Luling, Texas. This is where the timeline begins to fracture. He approaches an intersection he should recognize. A right-hand turn toward Interstate 10. Toward home. He doesn't take it. Instead, Jason continues straight. At that same moment, something else happens. His navigation stops. His phone records a Snapchat message being opened. Waze is pushed into the background. Who sent the message? What it said? Why it mattered? None of that can be recovered. 4 minutes later, at 11:28 p.m., Jason sends one final Snapchat, a selfie from inside the car. He looks calm, composed, unbothered. It's the last confirmed image of Jason Landry. After that, nothing. Here's what we don't know. We don't know why Jason missed the turn. We don't know if he noticed it. We don't know if he was distracted, impaired, curious, or simply mistaken. We don't know if he tried to correct his route. We don't know if he realized he was heading away from home. And we don't know what happened in the hour that followed. But here's what we do know. Jason Landry did not vanish all at once. He drove, he chose roads, he sent messages, and then somewhere between 11:28 p.m. and 12:30 a.m., the movement stops. When the next person encounters Jason's car, the dark has already claimed him.
Revelation hit me in the quiet, in the in-between, like the first breath after staying underwater too long.
Hi, dispatch.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you find a driver?
I have not. I went up and down Salt Flat, and I haven't located him yet.
When that sentence is spoken, Jason Landry is already missing. No one knows where he is. No one knows if he's hurt. No one knows if he's alive. All anyone knows is that his car is here and he is not.
Left the keys in there and it's all locked up. I'm not smelling any marijuana. That's what they were telling me.
The Nissan Altima is wedged off the road, facing the wrong direction. The rear window is completely shattered. There's damage to the front and the back. The headlights are on. The keys are still in the ignition. Whatever happened here didn't end with the crash, because the scene doesn't stop at the car.
All right.
Blood drop. Let's see there.
You think that backpack's associated with this?
I believe so, because I didn't see it earlier when I was out here.
All right.
The backpack isn't inside the car. It's out on the roadway. And inside it are Jason's essentials. His wallet, his ID, his laptop, his toiletries, and near it, a plastic tumbler. Holding his betta fish, Sparky. Sparky is already dead.
Got his backpack here, shirt and watch right there, shoes, and right up there is where his shorts and underwear are.
House just south of that.
Damn stuff.
What's that?
Got a fish or something in that cup.
Yeah, it's dead.
This is the cup the firefighter thought was alcohol.
Oh, there's a wallet. So, it's a male with a beard.
This is the first time law enforcement handles Jason's belongings. Not to look for him, not to figure out where he might have gone, but to inventory what he left behind.
Is it abandoned? It's abandoned. Nobody lived there, but I don't know if he put all his clothes and stuff in. He's completely naked wherever he lives. There's blood on his underwear. So we got 27.
White male. Go ahead and let him have that.
Jason still hasn't been found, but already the focus has shifted. Not where is he? Does he need help? But what kind of person was he?
Probably a college kid.
So it looks like, right?
Oh my goodness.
Uh-oh. Yep. Guess that's why I didn't want to leave it back. Yeah, he's a delivery boy.
There's no strong odor inside the car. No indication Jason was actively using while driving. He had a small amount consistent with personal use, but the interpretation comes quickly. Jason still hasn't been found. No one knows where he went. No one knows if he's injured. No one knows if he needs help. But the story being told about him has already begun.
Maybe associated with the driver of that vehicle. I'll be collecting this bag for evidence. Make a note also, approximately 10 marijuana blunts located inside a CVS pharmacy prescription bottle. It's back there. I'm not collecting up the clothes, but I'm taking this. Okay, and I'm gonna go through the rest of it.
Jason's clothes remain in the roadway. They are not collected. They are not preserved. They're not treated as evidence. Somewhere along Salt Flat Road, a 21-year-old man is wandering around, injured, undressed, and alone in near freezing temperatures. And still, there is no urgency about this scene.
Every wrong turn, every soft word we never said.
Hello?
Yes, good morning, Mrs. Landry.
Yes?
My name is Trooper Flores with the Texas Highway Patrol over here in Caldwell County.
Okay.
The reason I'm calling is I'm currently at a crash scene involving a 2003 Nissan Altima golden color that is registered to Kent Joseph and Lisa Marie Landry.
Okay.
Okay? I suspect Jason may have been driving this vehicle. However, when volunteer firefighters rolled up on this, they noticed the vehicle was abandoned, the back windows busted out. However, further up the road, a backpack was located. I've got the backpack in possession and found Jason David Landry's driver license and wallet and personal effects inside this backpack. Have you been in contact with him this evening?
This is how Jason's parents find out that their son is missing. Not from a knock at the door, not from a frantic phone call, but from a calm voice on a quiet line at 2 a.m.
I suspect he may be under the influence of some type of substance. The reason being is because his backpack was found. However, clothes and his underwear, well, I don't know if it's his or not. However, from his backpack on the dirt road, his clothes are, what I suspect his clothes are, may have disrobed himself, and it's 43 degrees out here, and it feels like it's 36.
Oh my gosh, okay.
They don't know where he is. They don't know if he's alive. But the word intoxicated comes up again. And just like that, even in this first call, a theory begins to form.
Yes.
Very well. Okay. Well, if y'all have any luck getting in contact with him via either text or even a phone call, could you please contact me?
So, are y'all able to, so is his phone not pinging? Are y'all able to find his phone?
No.
Okay.
He's not answering. The only way we're going to get a ping on it is if he answers.
Oh, okay. Do we call you at this number?
Sure.
Okay.
So, should I head? What should we do?
Well,
Then pray.
Yeah, we're in Houston.
no, I understand. I've got the sheriff's office calling me. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Kent doesn't wait. He gets dressed, grabs a blanket, packs a change of clothes for Jason, just in case. Then he gets in his Honda CR-V and starts driving towards Luling. The sky is still dark. He sips coffee on the highway, trying to steady his nerves. In his mind, this is temporary, a scare. He'll find Jason. He'll wrap him in the blanket. They'll drive home. He arrives around dawn, but instead of flashing lights, he finds silence. No crime scene tape, no search teams, no police presence at all. The car is gone, already towed. The road is open, unsecured, and Jason is nowhere. Kent is a former trial lawyer. He's been to real crime scenes. He knows what urgency looks like. This isn't it. Kent Landry steps out onto Salt Flat Road just after sunrise. The air is sharp, dry, and cold. He starts walking the gravel shoulder with a slow, deliberate pace. And then he sees them. A pair of socks. Bright yellow, faded blue. SpongeBob. The kind Jason loved. The kind only Jason wore.
On highway, what is this, whatever they call this, Salt Flat Road or whatever, on the washboard. And these are Jason's clothes lying in the road. It's hard to see. Those are two pairs of socks, shorts. It's underwear. I'm about, I don't know, 20 feet ahead. You couldn't really see him. This is his flip-flops.
They're scattered, not in a pile, left like breadcrumbs across the gravel.
This is his t-shirt.
Kent recognizes every item. Jason's t-shirt, his black shorts, his favorite drink cup, his toiletry bag packed to go home for Christmas, and then something smaller. Jason's watch, laid face up beneath his t-shirt. Not just a watch, a family heirloom, still ticking, still warm from the morning sun. Kent keeps filming.
You can see where at least this is where they went. I don't know, these are the track marks, and you can go down here and you can see where the car went off. You see the wheels and hit down here by this tree and fence. And Jason walked this way towards Luling or whoever. God, please be with him.
Standing alone on Salt Flat Road, 3 questions hit Kent all at once. Why was Jason on this road to begin with? It wasn't on his way. Where is he right now? And why, hours after his disappearance, is no one actively searching for him? The temperature dropped into the low 40s overnight. The wind made it colder. If Jason left his car alive, clothing would not have been optional. It would have been survival. Whatever happened to Jason did not end when the car went off the road, and whatever should have happened next didn't. Kent walks the path Jason might have taken from the road to the tree line back again, but it's not enough. Not with law enforcement already gone. After Salt Flat Road, Kent does what he knows he can do. Jason's car is being towed, but Kent is the registered owner, and because of that, he's allowed access. He drives to the impound lot later that morning. This is where answers should begin to surface. This is where evidence should be preserved. The car, the Nissan, is there, battered and mud-caked, the rear windshield still shattered. Kent opens the door. He looks down and, between the driver's seat and the center console, Jason's phone, still on. No one found it, because no one had looked. What should have been a rescue is quietly becoming something else.
If I disappear, would I even hear my name called? Or would the echo be the only thing that falls?
By the time the sun came up on December 14th, the most important window had already closed. The window where someone injured could still be found, where someone cold could still be saved. Instead, the car had been towed, the scene had been cleared, Jason Landry was gone, and the search hadn't really started. When Kent Landry arrived in Luling, no one was looking for his son, not the highway patrol or the sheriff's department. No perimeter, no canvas, no scent dogs. Jason's backpack had been found down the road, but no one had looked inside the car. No one had found the phone still powered on. No alert had gone out. No press release had been issued. For hours, Kent and the other family members searched on their own, in the dark and the cold, with nothing but a vague location and growing sense of dread.
Auto accidents are worked by highway patrol, not by the sheriff's office, so they sent a highway patrolman out there who did a lousy job, who did not follow any of the protocols. And he just called a wrecker to tow the car. I called home and told my wife, because she was staying at home, in case Jason came home or called or anything like that. Asked her to call the highway patrolman to give me the exact location so I could go look and help search. Well, the highway patrolman was at home asleep. After the car was towed, he had found Jason's backpack on the road and took that into evidence and then went home. He didn't tell the person who came on shift after him to keep looking for Jason. He drove, as I understand it, he drove down Salt Flat Road, like with his spotlight, looking along the road, but that was it. He never got out of his car, except to get the backpack or to do anything.
Eventually, belatedly, the search began. The Texas Department of Public Safety reached out to nonprofit search teams. By that evening, Texas Search and Rescue arrived, and not long after, Texas EquiSearch joined them. Dogs were brought in, a helicopter flew overhead. Volunteers searched on foot, on horseback, and by ATV. Crews in wetsuits entered freezing creeks, drones scanned from the sky, and oil tanks, sheds, and wells were inspected. The search area was massive, over 31,000 acres. But the thing everyone focused on was a pond. It was about 1,000 yards from the crash site. 8 different dogs alerted near the water. A sonar device found something below the surface. Searchers were confident Jason is in that pond. They drained it over the course of 3 agonizing days. Kent could hear the pumps from where he waited. He stood on a hill overlooking the water, praying for an answer, any answer. But there was nothing. No body or clothes or any trace at all. Not in that pond. Not in any of the other ponds they searched afterward. The dogs kept alerting, but nothing was ever found. After that, something changed. The early hope of a rescue was gone. Now it was a recovery, or a mystery. Kent kept searching, so did volunteers. They drained more ponds. They followed scent trails. They scoured rugged terrain littered with barbed wire, oil pumps, and creeks. But Jason's scent, like Jason himself, seemed to vanish. Searchers wondered if some kind of chemical in the oil fields had interfered with the dogs. Something never studied or published. A phenomenon beyond what they understood. Even now, some of them still believe Jason is there, somewhere, just hidden. The Landrys stayed near the crash site in an RV borrowed from a local judge. Family came in shifts, volunteers kept searching. But every day that passed made one thing clear. Whatever happened on Salt Flat Road that night wasn't just a car crash. It was something else, something harder to define, and even harder to find. The voluntary disappearance theory never really goes away because it offers something the others don't: intention. The idea that Jason Landry didn't vanish by accident, that he chose to leave. People who believe this theory often point to Jason's mindset in the months before he disappeared. It was the height of the COVID pandemic, isolation, remote classes, a closed-off world. Jason was an extrovert, and to some, it's easy to imagine that pressure quietly building towards a breaking point. Supporters also cite Jason's internet searches, surviving the wilderness, living off the land, self-reliance. On their own, they don't prove anything, but in hindsight, they've read like breadcrumbs, signs of someone thinking about escape. Then, there are the details people can't stop circling. Some of Jason's belongings don't feel chaotic to everyone. His watch, placed face up beneath his t-shirt, is often described as deliberate, symbolic. And what he didn't take matters just as much. Leaving behind a phone and wallet is framed not as a mistake, but a strategy, a way to disappear without a digital trail. Every so often, the theory flares back to life. In July of 2022, it happened again. The NYPD released a photo of an unidentified young man found unconscious in the Bronx. Almost immediately, people noticed the resemblance, enough that even Jason's father acknowledged it looked a lot like his son. For a brief moment, the idea that Jason could be alive, thousands of miles away, blending in, felt real. Within 24 hours, investigators confirmed the man was not Jason. But for a moment, the story held. A young man, isolated and overwhelmed, choosing to walk away. No violence, no struggle, just a clean break. It's a compelling idea, and for people desperate for answers, an easy one to hold on to. The problem is, it explains why someone might want to leave, but it never explains how Jason did. Another theory people return to is that something was off with Jason that night. Not that he wanted to disappear, but that he wasn't thinking clearly. This theory doesn't hinge on one thing, it's cumulative. impairment, shock, panic, emotional instability. Supporters often point to Jason's screen-recorded FaceTime call shortly before he left. While Jason appears alert and animated, a friend who recorded it later told investigators he did so because Jason was so messed up. He didn't think Jason would remember the conversation. That contrast between how Jason looks and how he was perceived is where interpretation begins. On the call, they discuss psychedelics, endurance, and altered states, topics that feel heavier only in hindsight. There's no evidence of an argument or a triggering message. There is confirmed context. Jason had been smoking marijuana. Early on, law enforcement seized on this. Videos of Jason smoking were released publicly. His interest in psychedelics was repeatedly emphasized. Impairment became the dominant narrative, not just an explanation, but a lens through which everything else was viewed. For many, that framing feels convenient. Focusing on Jason's drug use shifted attention away from unanswered questions, the delayed response, the incomplete searches, the gaps in the investigation, and placed the weight of the mystery back onto Jason himself. For many people following this case, there's a point where the explanations stop feeling accidental. This is where the foul play theory takes hold. It doesn't begin with a single piece of evidence. It begins with a pattern of things that don't sit right. There's the unexplained 67-minute gap between Jason's last confirmed phone activity and the discovery of his crashed car. A stretch of time long enough for something to happen and empty enough to invite speculation. There's also the setting. When compared to other towns of similar size, Luling's crime rate is often reported as higher than average. And just 6 months before Jason disappeared, a double homicide occurred on a rural road outside Luling. 2 teenagers were shot and killed while riding an ATV. There's no evidence connecting that crime to Jason's disappearance. But taken together, the missing time, the deviation onto a remote road, and a recent history of real violence in the area, it explains why some people stopped seeing the night as a series of accidents and started wondering whether something or someone interfered. In late 2025, newly released dispatcher calls revealed something that immediately reignited suspicion. At approximately 2 a.m., Verizon Wireless recorded a ping from Jason's phone, not near Salt Flat Road, but on Hoover Street in Luling, nearly 5 miles away from where his crashed car was found. For supporters of the foul play theory, this detail is explosive. If accurate, it suggests that Jason's phone and possibly Jason himself were somewhere else well after the crash was discovered. That raises obvious questions. How does a phone end up miles away from an abandoned crash site in the middle of the night? Some argue this implies movement. Around the same time as the 2 a.m. phone ping, dispatchers received a call reporting a possible naked male on a property near the Hoover Street area. That report has never been confirmed as Jason, but the timing unsettles people, especially when placed next to the physical evidence at the crash site. For proponents of foul play, those pieces form a disturbing picture. A naked person reported miles away, a phone ping in the same area, and a young man who was never found. Salt Flat Road runs through private land. It's dark out there, isolated, quiet. And in places like that, strangers aren't always welcome. Some people believe Jason may have wandered onto private property that night, confused, injured, undressed, possibly impaired, and mistaken for a threat. One local landowner, Stuart Carter, put it bluntly in an interview. If it was a woman, people would probably think she was in distress. If it was a naked man, I think it's safe to say he could wind up dead. For some, they imagine a different outcome. A frightened landowner, a startled figure in the dark, a split-second decision. In this version of events, Jason is shot, the shooter panics, the incident is never reported. No body, no weapon recovered, no arrest. Supporters argue that if something like this happened far enough from the road, evidence might never make it back to where searchers were looking. According to law enforcement and search teams, scent dogs picked up Jason's trail starting at the crash site. The dogs followed his scent for roughly a quarter to half a mile, moving in the direction of Luling, before the trail ended abruptly. That sudden stop has fueled years of speculation. To some, an abrupt ending suggests that Jason didn't simply wander off until his scent faded, but that something interrupted his movement. Supporters of the foul play theory believe it's consistent with someone being picked up by a vehicle, willingly or not. Others caution that scent tracking is far from exact. Still, where the trail led, and where searches concentrated afterward, left a lasting impression. Nearby, there was an abandoned, unoccupied house that became a focal point of community speculation. Some independent observers have claimed the dog specifically tracked Jason's scent to that structure, leading to theories that he may have been taken there. However, law enforcement have never confirmed that. What is confirmed is that the area, along with nearby structures, were thoroughly searched with no physical evidence tying Jason to any buildings. Even without confirmation, those images continue to shape how people imagine what happened after Jason left the crash site. One of the most talked about ideas is that Jason was attacked by wild animals. This part of Texas is home to feral hogs, large, aggressive animals that roam at night, travel in groups, and will eat almost anything. On a program about the case, a detective himself acknowledged that wild pigs have, in documented cases, injured and even killed people, and that they're known to consume human remains. That statement alone was enough to fuel intense speculation. The idea is visceral, and it explains the absence. But when you slow down, this version struggles. In known cases of wildlife attacks, there's usually evidence: blood, disturbed ground, drag marks, signs of a struggle. Near the crash site, none of that was found. That doesn't mean wildlife wasn't present, but it does make a sudden violent animal attack the weakest version of this theory. Another possibility under misadventure is drowning. The area around where Jason disappeared includes ponds, creeks, and low-lying water that can be difficult to see at night. Drowning doesn't always look dramatic. It can happen quickly, silently, one wrong step in the dark. In rural cases, bodies don't always surface where people expect them to. Water can conceal, it can move remains, and it can delay discovery far longer than people assume. That said, this theory runs into an important complication. A significant amount of water in the area was searched, repeatedly. Ponds near the crash site were examined, and at least one was drained entirely. Creeks and low-lying areas were checked during multiple search phases. Despite that effort, nothing was found. That doesn't completely rule drowning out. Water can be missed and conditions can change. Search coverage is never perfect, but it does mean accidental drowning isn't as clean an explanation as it first appears. One of the simplest explanations in this case is also one many people underestimate. Hypothermia. That night was unusually cold for Central Texas. Temperatures dropped into the low 40s but felt like they were in the 30s. And while this is Texas, the winds were strong enough that responding officers later described them as Arctic. Jason's car had a shattered rear windshield, meaning cold air would have been pouring into the cabin. The heater was turned up, so clearly Jason was already struggling to stay warm. According to investigators, hypothermia may not have started after Jason left the vehicle. It may have begun inside it. If Jason was briefly unconscious after the crash, his body temperature could have begun dropping while he sat motionless in cold air. When he later exited the vehicle and began moving, that shift alone could have triggered a dangerous physiological response called vasodilation. This occurs when blood rushing back into the arms and legs create a false sensation of intense heat. In the later stages of hypothermia, the brain misfires, and people suffering from this experience overwhelming heat which causes them to remove their clothing, even though they're dangerously cold. That's where paradoxical undressing comes in. As we know, Jason did inexplicably remove all of his clothing. This explains why he disrobed, but not where he went. And this leads us to another phenomenon that is often preceded by paradoxical undressing. It's a term referred to as terminal burrowing or hide and die syndrome. Terminal burrowing is believed to originate in the brainstem, the part of the brain that controls instinct, not decision-making. It's the brain reverting to the last survival instinct it can access. In terrain like this, rural, overgrown, scattered with fencing, oil equipment, and uneven ground, someone in that state could move just far enough off the obvious path to be missed. Oftentimes, the hypothermia theory is refuted by it not being that cold. But here's the interesting thing. Both paradoxical undressing and terminal burrowing are more likely to occur when body temperature is lost slowly rather than rapidly, when the cold has time to work its way into the nervous system while the person is still conscious and moving. If Jason died from hypothermia after burrowing into a concealed area, that still leaves one enormous question. Why hasn't he been found? This is where wildlife comes back into the picture. Not as the cause, but what may have happened afterward. Investigators on the case have openly acknowledged that the area is home to large populations of feral hogs. They've stated on record that hogs are known to consume human remains, and that there are documented cases of this happening. What often makes me skeptical of this idea is that most often something is left behind. The sole of a shoe, a belt buckle, something. But Jason didn't have any of that. A body concealed in brush, unclothed, exposed to time and scavengers, becomes exponentially harder to recover, especially in a landscape that blends bone and vegetation almost seamlessly. Investigators even noted that searching for bone required specialized imaging because there was no clothing color to key in on. In that context, scavenging doesn't need to be dramatic to be effective. It only needs time. This explanation doesn't rely on a single catastrophic event. It's a sequence: cold, confusion, undressing, shelter seeking, and then nature does what nature does. I don't say this with certainty, no one can, but of all the possibilities in this case, this combination, hypothermia followed by concealment and later scavenging, fits the environment, the conditions, and the evidence we do have better than most. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's ordinary. And that's what makes it so hard for some to accept in this extraordinary case.
You're not gone, you're not here, just caught somewhere between
As parents, we just want the truth. If we're not going to see him this side of heaven, I want to know what happened. It's hard.
Two days before Jason Landry disappeared, he texted his mom a Christmas list. At the top, socks. But not just any socks. He wanted the weird ones, wacky and loud, ones with personality. There was one pair he mentioned, a monkey in a suit, briefcase in one hand, banana in the other. The words monkey business stitched on the ankle. He thought they were hilarious. That's the kind of person Jason was. A little goofy, big-hearted, the kind of kid someone once compared to a golden retriever. He was coming home for Christmas. His parents wrapped the presents. They're still waiting there. Waiting.
Jacket on the chair holds the bend of your arm. The dust in the hallway still remembers your walk. I set one extra plate, then put it back on the shelf. Mouth your name in the mirror like I'm talking to someone else. I talk to the quiet air like it might answer for you. Ask it the same old questions, it never knows what to do. Your shadow lives in the doorway, your voice in every room. I talk to the quiet air like it might lead me to you.